The morning was cold, and the city streets buzzed with hurried footsteps. Daniel, a young man in his late 20s, walked slowly, clutching his worn-out backpack. He hadn't eaten since yesterday. The restaurant he'd worked at had shut down last month, and since then, life had been a struggle of empty job applications, sleepless nights, and skipped meals. Still, even with nothing left, he carried himself with quiet dignity. Inside his wallet sat a single crumpled dollar bill, his last one. It wasn't enough for a meal, barely enough for a cup of coffee, but he kept it like a reminder that he wasn't completely defeated. As he passed by the park, Daniel noticed a little boy sitting on a bench. The boy's clothes were thin, his shoes torn, and his face pale with hunger. He couldn't have been more than 7. Beside him lay a paper bag, empty. Daniel paused, his heart tightening. The child's eyes followed every person walking past, as if hoping someone would notice him. But the crowd flowed on, indifferent. Daniel hesitated. What could he possibly do? He was hungry too. That dollar was all he had. Yet something deep within whispered, "This boy needs it more than you." He knelt down and smiled gently. "Hey buddy, you okay?" The boy looked up, startled, then nodded weakly. "I'm just hungry," he murmured, his voice trembling. "My mum said she'd be back soon, but it's been a long time." Daniel looked at the dollar in his hand. It felt almost symbolic now, one choice between survival and compassion. Without thinking twice, he took the bill, walked to a nearby food stand, and bought the boy a small sandwich and a juice box. "Here," Daniel said softly, handing it over. "Eat up." The boy's eyes widened. "For me?" Daniel nodded. "Of course. Everyone deserves to eat." The boy tore into the sandwich, eating like he hadn't seen food in days. Daniel watched silently, feeling a strange warmth spreading through his chest. The sight of that smile, that innocent gratitude, made him forget his own hunger for a moment. "Thank you," the boy whispered. "You're the nicest person I've ever met." Daniel smiled faintly. "Just promise me something when you grow up. Help someone else who needs it." "Okay." The boy nodded eagerly. As Daniel stood to leave, he suddenly felt lightheaded. Hunger and exhaustion caught up with him. He stumbled slightly, steadying himself against the bench. The boy noticed and looked concerned. "Mister, are you okay?" "Yeah. Just tired," Daniel replied with a weak grin. He walked away slowly, unaware that his small act of kindness had been witnessed by a stranger standing across the street. A woman in a gray coat had been watching the entire exchange, her eyes glistening. She had seen people walk past that starving child all morning, but only this man, ragged and broke, had stopped to help. Something inside her shifted. She pulled out her phone and quickly snapped a photo of Daniel disappearing into the crowd. That night, Daniel slept on a park bench, unaware that the photo of him helping the boy had already begun spreading online. The caption read, "This man gave his last dollar to feed a hungry child. Humanity still exists." By morning, that photo would have over 1 million shares. But Daniel didn't know any of that yet. He only knew one thing: despite his hunger, he felt full. And that was only the beginning. The sun rose over the city, casting a golden glow on streets that Daniel had learned to call home. He awoke on the same park bench, stiff and cold. His stomach growled, but he smiled faintly, remembering the little boy's grateful eyes. It had been worth it, every bit of it. As Daniel rubbed his eyes and sat up. Across town, the photo of him was exploding across social media. The woman in the gray coat, her name was Rachel Porter, a journalist for a local online magazine. She had uploaded the picture with a heartfelt caption. This man had only $1 left, and still chose to feed a hungry child. "We talk about kindness, he lives it." Within hours, the post went viral. Comments flooded in from around the world. Faith in humanity restored. Someone find this man. I want to help him. Rachel hadn't expected it to spread this fast. Her notifications were endless. TV stations, newspapers, even charitable organizations wanted to know more. But there was one problem. No one knew who Daniel was. He had simply vanished after the photo was taken. Meanwhile, Daniel wandered the streets searching for work. He walked past cafes, construction sites, grocery stores, anywhere that had a help wanted sign. But every answer was the same: "Sorry, not hiring right now." He tried to keep his spirits up. "Maybe tomorrow," he whispered to himself, looking up at the sky. Just maybe. That evening, as he sat outside a convenience store sipping water from a public tap, a group of college students walked by. One of them stopped mid-step, squinting. Wait a sec. Dude, it's him. The guy from the photo. Daniel frowned. Photo. The student turned his phone around. On the screen was Daniel's face, the very moment he handed the sandwich to the little boy. Daniel's eyes widened. That's me. Yeah. The student laughed, astonished. Man, you're all over the internet. Everyone's talking about you, the guy who gave his last dollar. Daniel felt a rush of confusion and disbelief. People are talking about that. More like the whole world. Man, you're a legend right now. The students handed him a few dollars and took a selfie with him before rushing off. Daniel stared at the money in his hand, this time not his last dollar, but one given freely by strangers. For the first time in weeks, he bought himself a sandwich, sat on the curb, and smiled quietly. Across the city. Rachel refreshed her phone for the 100th time. She couldn't stop thinking about the man's face, his quiet humility, his compassion. She wanted to find him, not for fame, but to help him. That night, she wrote an article titled The Unknown Hero of Kindness. The article read, "While the world rushes through its days, one man reminded us what humanity truly means. If anyone knows who he is, please reach out." The story reached major news outlets within 24 hours. Television anchors spoke about the last dollar man. People began sharing stories of their own acts of kindness inspired by him. Food drives were organized, donations poured in for the homeless, and a city that once looked the other way began to see compassion in a new light. Daniel, however, remained unaware of the storm he had started. He simply kept walking, quietly doing what he always did, surviving. But that night, as he found a small corner near the river to rest, he looked up at the stars and whispered, "I hope that boy's okay." He didn't know that the boy, too, had seen the photo. The child's mother had returned, and when she recognized Daniel in the viral post, she cried. She had left her son briefly to look for work, and the man who helped him had unknowingly helped her believe that kindness still existed. The next morning, as Daniel walked past a newspaper stand, something caught his eye. His own face printed on the front page. The last dollar hero, who is he? Daniel froze. People around him were reading, talking, pointing at the paper. He felt exposed, overwhelmed. But deep down, there was also something else. Hope. He wasn't invisible anymore. The morning air was crisp, and Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he held the newspaper. His own face stared back at him. The same face that had been ignored for weeks was now the talk of the city. The headline screamed in bold letters. The last dollar hero inspires a nation. He read the article slowly, disbelief tightening in his chest. The story told of how he gave his final dollar to feed a hungry boy, how millions online were calling him a symbol of hope. But Daniel couldn't understand why anyone cared. "I just did what anyone should do," he murmured quietly. Still, as he walked, people began recognizing him. A shopkeeper waved him over. Hey, you're that guy from the paper, aren't you? Daniel hesitated, nodding slightly. "You've got guts, kid. Wait here." He disappeared into his shop and returned with a bag of pastries. On the house, "The world needs more people like you." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. I don't deserve this." "Sure you do," the shopkeeper said warmly. "Kindness comes full circle, always." Later that day, a group of volunteers from a local shelter approached him. They'd been searching all morning. "You're Daniel, right?" one of them asked. "We saw your story. We'd like to offer you a place to stay, warm meals, a bed, even help finding a job." For a moment, Daniel was speechless. He had spent weeks invisible, forgotten. Now strangers were reaching out their hands with genuine care. His throat tightened as he whispered, "I don't know what to say." Say yes. The volunteer smiled. "You've earned it." That night, Daniel lay in a real bed for the first time in months. The blanket felt heavy with comfort, the pillow soft like clouds. As he stared at the ceiling, tears rolled silently down his cheeks. He remembered the boy's face, that pure gratitude, and whispered, "Thank you, little guy. You saved me too." Across town, Rachel, the journalist who posted his photo, finally got a lead. A shelter volunteer messaged her, "We found him." She couldn't believe it. Immediately, she drove to the shelter, heart pounding. When she arrived, Daniel was sitting at a table eating soup. "Daniel?" she asked softly. He looked up, confused. "Do I know you?" She smiled gently. "Not yet, but I think the world does." Asterisk when she introduced herself, Daniel was stunned. You're the one who took the photo. Asterisk Rachel nodded. I didn't mean for it to go this far, I just wanted people to see what real kindness looks like. Asterisk Daniel looked down, humble as ever. I didn't do it to be seen. That boy just looked so hungry. Asterisk, that's exactly why people love you, Rachel said, her voice thick with emotion. You gave when you had nothing, and that's what the world needed to see. Asterisk they talked for hours about life, struggle, and the strange way kindness echoes back when you least expect it. Rachel decided to write a follow-up article, but this time, with Daniel's permission, the headline would read, Asterisk the last dollar hero found, and his message will melt your heart. Asterisk by the time it was published, donations started flooding in, not for fame, but for Daniel's future. A local restaurant owner offered him a job. Anyone with a heart like yours belongs on my team, he said during their meeting. Asterisk for the first time in a long while, Daniel felt something he hadn't in years, purpose. He accepted the offer, vowing to give his all. Asterisk that evening, as he left the shelter wearing donated clothes and holding a small bag of belongings, people on the street smiled and waved. Some thanked him for reminding them of what really matters. Asterisk as Daniel walked away, Rachel snapped one last photo, not of a man giving away his last dollar, but of a man walking toward a new life built on kindness. Asterisk little did Daniel know, his story was far from over, because the next person he would meet, the one who would completely change everything, was about to find him. Asterisk 2 weeks had passed since Daniel's story took the world by storm. He now worked at a cozy downtown cafe, the same kind of place he used to walk past when he couldn't afford even a coffee. The warm aroma of freshly brewed beans filled the air each morning as he tied his apron and greeted customers with a smile. Asterisk he didn't see himself as a hero. He still lived simply, saved every penny, and volunteered at the shelter that had once taken him in. Every time someone recognized him and thanked him for his act of kindness, he'd just say, we all have $1 to give. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's love. Asterisk one chilly afternoon, as Daniel wiped down the counter, the bell over the cafe door chimed. A woman stepped in, holding the hand of a small boy. Daniel turned, smiling automatically, and froze. Asterisk the boy's face. Those eyes, the same small smile he'd never forgotten that it was him, the little boy from the park. Asterisk the woman approached the counter, her expression soft but emotional. Excuse me, she said hesitantly. Are you Daniel? Asterisk Daniel blinked, setting the cloth down slowly. Yes, I am. Asterisk she took a deep breath. You don't know me, but you helped my son that day in the park. You gave him food when no one else would. Asterisk for a moment, time stopped. The cafe went silent. Daniel's chest tightened as he looked at the boy, a bit healthier now, wearing warm clothes and a shy smile. Asterisk I remember you, Daniel whispered. How are you, little buddy? Asterisk the boy's eyes lit up. I'm good. Mom found a job, and we have a place to live now. Asterisk tears welled in the mother's eyes. That day, I had gone to look for work. I didn't realize how long I'd been gone. When I came back and saw him eating, I thought an angel must have helped him. Then later I saw your photo online, and I cried. You didn't just feed my child, Daniel, you gave me hope when I'd lost everything. Asterisk Daniel's throat tightened. I just did what anyone should. Asterisk no, she said firmly, shaking her head. Most people walked past. You didn't. Asterisk the boy tugged at his sleeve. Mum told me to never forget what you did. I've been saving something for you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny crumpled note, a drawing of a man handing food to a smiling child. Underneath, in messy handwriting, it said, Asterisk, thank you for feeding me when I was hungry. Asterisk, Daniel took the note with trembling hands, emotion breaking through his composure. He knelt down, tears in his eyes. You kept this all this time? Asterisk the boy nodded proudly. It's yours now. The cafe grew quiet as nearby customers watched the scene unfold, some discreetly wiping their eyes. The manager stepped forward, placing a hand on Daniel's shoulder. Take a break, he said softly. Asterisk, they sat together at a corner table, the mother explaining how she'd found work as a nurse and was finally rebuilding her life. She'd come today not just to say thank you but to repay his kindness. Asterisk, I wanted to do something for you, she said, sliding a small envelope across the table. Please, it's not much, but it's from us. Asterisk Daniel looked inside and saw a few bills and a handwritten card. We saw your story, the card read. You reminded us that good still exists, and that even when we have little, we can give much. Asterisk he shook his head, smiling through tears. You've already given me more than enough. Seeing you both okay, that's everything. Asterisk, but the woman insisted. No, Daniel, you gave your last dollar to help my son. Now let me give something back. Asterisk, as Daniel accepted the envelope, the little boy leaned over the table and hugged him tightly. You're my hero, he whispered. Asterisk for Daniel. That moment was worth more than anything the world could offer. Every hardship, every cold night, every hungry day, it had led to this. Asterisk, Rachel, the journalist, happened to visit the cafe that same day. When she saw the reunion, she stopped in her tracks, stunned. Quietly, she lifted her camera and captured the moment, the man who gave his last dollar, embraced by the child who had changed his destiny. Asterisk, that photo would soon go viral again, but this time, the caption would read, Asterisk, the boy he once fed found him again, and brought his kindness full circle. A week had passed since Daniel's unexpected reunion with the boy and his mother. Yet the memory still played in his mind like a beautiful dream. That moment, the small arms of a grateful child wrapped around him, had healed something deep inside. Asterisk, but the world wasn't done with Daniel's story. The second photo Rachel took, the one of Daniel hugging the boy, was now spreading across the internet faster than the first. Within days, news channels called it the Circle of Kindness. Asterisk, everywhere people were talking. Schools used Daniel's story to teach compassion. Churches spoke of it in sermons. And online communities started challenges encouraging others to give their last dollar, not literally, but symbolically, doing something kind even when they had little to give. Asterisk, Rachel met with Daniel again. This time for a television interview. Under the bright studio lights, Daniel looked nervous but calm, wearing the same humble smile that had touched millions. Asterisk, so Daniel, the host asked, how does it feel to be called the last dollar hero? Asterisk, Daniel chuckled softly. Honestly, strange. I never wanted to be a hero. I just saw someone hungry and did what felt right. Asterisk, the host smiled. And now your story has changed lives all over the world. What message would you give to those watching? Asterisk, Daniel looked directly at the camera. Kindness doesn't need money. Sometimes, it's just a moment, a smile, a meal, a helping hand. You never know whose life you're touching. That one act might change everything, even your own. Asterisk, the studio fell silent for a moment. Then came thunderous applause. Rachel felt tears fill her eyes behind the camera. She realized Daniel hadn't just given away a dollar. He had given people hope. Asterisk, soon after, offers began pouring in, sponsorships, donations, even book deals. But Daniel turned most of them down. He didn't want fame or wealth. Instead, he had an idea. Asterisk, with the cafe owner's support and the help of volunteers, Daniel started a small foundation called $1 Hope. Its mission was simple: feed children in need, one meal at a time. If $1 can change one day, he said during the launch event, then imagine what 1,000 hearts can do together. Asterisk, the first meal drive happened on a cold Saturday morning. Daniel stood in front of a long table filled with sandwiches and warm soup, serving people with the same quiet smile he once gave that little boy. Reporters covered the event, but Daniel barely noticed the cameras. He was focused on each child's face, each thank you, each spark of gratitude that reminded him of his own journey. Asterisk, as the day ended, the boy he once helped, now smiling and lively, stood beside him, handing out juice boxes to other kids. You see, Daniel said, smiling, you kept your promise, you're helping others now. Asterisk, the boy grinned proudly. Just like you taught me. Asterisk, Rachel watched from a distance, snapping one final photograph. Daniel, the once homeless man, surrounded by children he was now feeding. She knew the world needed this ending, not a sad one, but one that proved light can grow from even the darkest days. Asterisk, later that evening, after everyone left, Daniel sat quietly on the cafe steps, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. The city buzzed around him, but his world was peaceful. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the drawing the boy had given him, the crumpled picture of a man feeding a child. Asterisk, he smiled, whispering that $1 was never lost. It just kept moving. Asterisk, as the wind carried his words away, Daniel realized something profound. Kindness doesn't end with one act, it ripples outward, touching lives far beyond our sight. Asterisk, and so, from a single dollar given in hunger, came a chain of compassion that changed thousands of hearts. Asterisk, all because one man chose kindness over comfort.